Tonight on Meet Your Double Feature, a free-spirited rebel fights to restore water to a post-apocalyptic Earth in Tank Girl. Then, a hard-nosed detective fights to bring down a colorful gang of criminals in Tracy. It's a stylish superhero double feature, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Meet Your Double Feature, a double-blind movie review podcast. My name is Thomas, joined as always by my brother Frank. Frank, how are you?
Oh, I'm excited. We're back. Season finale. We never left.
Season finale.
We're still here.
Well, we never left, but this is a bit of a hiatus for us. We have not recorded an episode in over a month, and so I'll be honest, this all feels brand new to me.
Yeah, how does this work? This is a microphone?
Microphone, named after Mike Phone.
Oh, I hate that guy.
Anyway, that's a great question. How does this work? Maybe somebody listening is asking that question because they've never heard our show before. In case you're wondering, Meet Your Double Feature is a double-blind movie review show. We have two films to talk about back-to-back that neither of us had seen before recording them for this episode, but Frank gave me one to watch and I gave him one to watch, and we're going to decide who made the better blind movie selection.
I think it was me.
Frank thinks it was him. He's incorrect. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about the movie I asked Frank to watch, 1990's Dick Tracy. And first, we're going to start with the film that Frank, you selected, 1995's Tank Girl. Also of note, this is the end of our season about forgotten superhero films, as you can tell from the fact that these are barely superhero films.
I think Dick Tracy is.
Dick Tracy is. Tank Girl, a little bit more of a stretch. I would call it a comic movie because Tank Girl was a comic strip. Not so much a superhero, but we didn't know that. We had not seen the film.
That's the premise.
That's the premise of the show. Now, Frank, before I roll in with my review, any context for why you asked me to watch Tank Girl?
I was trying to really get us to the outer edges of what constitutes a superhero / comic book movie, I guess.
Yep.
And honestly, we'd seen a lot of them. This was an effort to see some forgotten superhero films. It turns out there wasn't that many that we'd forgotten.
Well, we being you and I specifically, because there are some more obscure ones that people would enjoy that we just watched growing up already, like Darkman from Sam Raimi or like The Phantom. Like there's some famous forgotten ones that we weren't able to cover for the show because one of us had already seen them. So yeah, we were kind of at slim pickings here towards the end of the season, but we did our best.
Yeah, I think we made some varied choices, which I like. These are all superhero movies. Hard to see a through line through all of them. Although I will, with Dick Tracy, there's definitely some common elements with some previous films that I've watched this season. So,
okay, looking forward to that. I do have some production notes about Tank Girl as a character that do tie into one of our previous films that we've discussed this season. So I'll start with that. Tank Girl, as I mentioned, was a comic strip that was adapted into a film in 1995. It began, I believe, in the late 80s as sort of a counterculture, like girl rocker character in the United Kingdom. It was made by two British dudes who are more well known, or at least one of them is more well known, as the person who created the artwork for the Gorillaz, the band.
Oh, wait, so he did Tank Girl first?
Yeah. Let me pull up the name so that I don't look foolish.
It's Gorillaz with a Z, actually.
Not the name of the band, the name of the guy. Tank Girl and the Gorillaz are connected through their co-creator, British artist Jamie Hewlett. So that is a connection I was not expecting when I sat down to watch Tank Girl.
Awesome. That would have been cool if there was Gorillaz music in the movie.
Oh, that would have been pretty neat, actually. It would have fit. Unfortunately, that project came later. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have.
Yeah.
The other note that I had is that the origins of the comic, so the two creators, Hewlett and the other one, whose name I didn't write down. Bad job.
Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. Hate that guy.
Irrelevant. The other person. No. We'll look it up. British comic series created by Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin. You can see why I forgot that other name. But not very notable.
Just really gonna drag this guy. Even when you remember his name, you're like, freaking boring name guy over here.
We'll cut that out so I look smart. Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin created Tank Girl, I think, when they were both still in college. The reason that the name Tank Girl came about, according to the Wikipedia article at least, is that there was sort of a running bit between Hewlett and some of the people in the band he was in at the time, where they were just adding girl to the end of every character that they made up. And it says it was because they had just seen the 1980s Supergirl movie.
Whoa, episode 1?
Yeah. So I guess they saw Supergirl, probably the only ones, and then just kept doing like blank girl as like a bit. And so then when they created Tank Girl, that's why she became Tank Girl.
Isn't that crazy? They watched the movie in the 80s, and then nobody saw it again until this year when I watched it.
When you watched it and we talked about it on the show. Yep. We're the only
Nobody
ones.
watched it in between.
So anyway, that was my long-winded connection back to a superhero movie proper. But I did think that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's connected to one we already saw.
There you go. Can't be forgotten. The guy from the Gorillaz has seen it.
Guy who did the artwork for the Gorilla. He's not a member of the band, though, is he?
No, I think it's just the art. But I mean, it's kind of like a really crucial part of that band's aesthetic, more so than most.
Yeah. Who cares about the music?
Who cares? Remember the monkey?
He's a gorilla, actually, with a Z.
Oh, that's a good point. Anyway, that's my like production background on Tank Girl. It was a successful comic in the late 80s. It was like a counterculture icon. The comic itself was not really like a traditional narrative story. It was a very zany, like surrealistic comic strip that didn't really follow any defined logic, but kind of had that like grungy riot girl art style.
So really, really easy to translate into a feature film.
Oh yeah, certainly so. It's not as if it was a horrible idea that didn't work and was a total flop.
I will say though, real quick, I actually feel like stuff like that typically is something that would be great to adapt into another medium because it is so loose. I feel like there's I know some people really liked maybe the first season of like the Last of Us TV show. But from what I've heard, people have fallen off on the second season. And I've just always thought, I'm like, what a bad thing to adapt, though, because it's already a story that's been told in such a cinematic way, like through the game, through the original. And so it's like, if you're going to adapt something, I feel like there should be some purpose or intentionality behind the adaptation, because it is going to inherently be something different. But I feel like if you have something that's just loose and kind of a kinetic energy idea and imagery, you can kind of do whatever you want with that, really, which I think would be a fun jumping off point for an adaptation. But you
That's
tell
a good point. I think on paper, there's no reason this couldn't have turned into a good movie, because just like you said, all you need is the aesthetic, and then you could kind of use that as an opportunity to create like a core narrative out of it. Because it still had characters and a setting. It just was not, it didn't really bother with a traditional narrative structure in most of the comics. Tank Girl also went on a hiatus after some point in the 90s and then came back in like the 2010s for a while. So it's really only had a couple of short runs. And I think there's still more to be done. I think even now you could make Tank Girl again now and it would probably have a better chance of working than it did in 95.
Like a movie, you mean? Like a movie adaptation of it? Yeah,
because I do
totally.
think that what we got in the 90s, I'll say right off the bat, classic movie adaptation problem. The studio got involved. That's like the overarching problem with the movie, is that the director and the two original comic creators both have all gone on record saying like this movie got taken out of our hands in post-production. They made a bunch of changes. They censored it a lot. And the end result was not what we wanted to make.
Yeah. Tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time as Tank Girl.
Does she have a tank? Does she actually have a tank?
Yes. So the premise of Tank Girl is that she lives in a tank in like a post-apocalyptic Earth and drives it around. And we do get to that point in the movie, but at the beginning she doesn't have her tank until like the second act.
Oh, so it's like a surf monkey situation again.
It's a surf monkey situation, but she does get it long before the end of the movie, so that's good.
Okay, cool. What's she doing before she's... If
What's
that's
she
where
up
she
to?
lives, like
Why they call her? Was she just called Girl at the beginning? Okay. So before I launch into the actual plot of the movie Tank Girl, I would have never guessed this would come up, but I honestly have to give a content warning for this movie and even the discussion, because Tank Girl the movie features many, many scenes, especially in the first half, of people threatening sexual violence against women, and at least one against a child, and none of it is handled with enough tact to be like not uncomfortable to watch. It's a huge part of the discussion, and I think a lot of the movie was trying to be about a lot of like feminist ideas, and there's been a lot of stuff written about it since about whether it's truly a feminist film or almost like just appropriated the aesthetics of feminist filmmaking. It's a lot. It's like weirdly heavy, despite having such a goofy premise. So just wanted to forewarn with that before we actually get into the plot summary at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it made it into the episode, but there's a scene like that in Supergirl as well. And it's like upsetting and like comically stupid in that movie too, because she has superpowers and she keeps fending these people off, but then they still persist. And it's like,
yeah,
that doesn't even make sense.
It's upsetting, and I think in Tank Girl it's intended to be upsetting, but it does tip the tone of the movie over into being like kind of miserable at the beginning, because when the story launches, it's set in the future. I think it's like post-apocalyptic Earth. And there's actually a really funny line at the beginning because Tank Girl herself, played by Lori Petty, is narrating the opening. And she just says, "It's 2033. The world is screwed now." And I was like, yep, correct.
Yeah. I mean, screwed sooner than that, but.
Sooner than that. It didn't even take that long, Tank Girl,
yeah.
But thank you. And she explains that it's a post-apocalypse specifically because it like stopped raining. There's been no water in like 11 or 12 years. Most of the world is a desert. The only people who have water is this big, evil mega corporation that they just call Water and Power because they have all of the remaining natural resources. They're hoarding them and essentially trying to rule the world by killing or enslaving anybody who's trying to live out in the desert by themselves.
Yeah, none of that could ever happen.
None of that could ever happen. Water scarcity? Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Don't want to talk about it. It scares me.
Don't stop bringing it up, Tank Girl. So that is our premise. Tank Girl lives in like a little commune out in the desert. There's this kind of neat set that they have set up in the first act where it's like a house, like a 3-story old-looking house that's like half covered up by the sand. Like it's like half submerged into this big sand dune. And so in order to still have a walkway to get up to like the top floor, they built this big curved wooden ramp that looks like the entrance to Helm's Deep.
Cool. I like that. Is this a practical set we're talking about here?
Uh-huh. There is some fun practical sets and also some cute little miniatures of like the evil headquarters and some of the action stuff. So production design, good enough, kind of interesting, very like zany 90s look to the whole thing.
The 90s were so zany.
The 90s were so zany. There was no water, I guess.
They just had Surge. Everybody was just drinking Surge nonstop.
Just had Surge. That's true. Frank, I might have talked to you about this before, but there is a website you can find online of an internet movement of people trying to make, I think, Coca-Cola bring back Surge. And it's like the most pathetic thing I've ever seen because the language they use is not like bring back Surge because the fans love it. They're trying to like speak corporate. They're like, Surge is a marketable commercial entity for Coca-Cola Company.
Oh, I'm glad you called it a movement, because it's like a really important thing that we should be focusing on. I don't want to think about the water shortage or any other real problems. Where's the surge at? Yeah.
I mean, listen, what do you call 6 people and a website if not a movement?
It's a band.
It's a band. Anyway, so Tank Girl starts. Tank Girl lives in a commune with like some of her friends and these little kids who are just kind of doing their best to make it in a world that doesn't have any water. The other faction in the world that they have to worry about is this group that they call the Rippers, who, according to the opening narration, are like flesh-eating monsters and kind of a classic like post-apocalypse trope. It kind of felt like they were talking about the Reavers from Firefly, if you remember that.
I was picturing like the Psychos from Borderlands, but
same thing. Yep, just like crazy cannibal monster people living out in the desert. So those are the 2 groups that our main cast has to worry about. They have to deal with the Rippers, and they have to deal with Water and Power, who are just the evil organization. Almost immediately, Water and Power shows up and kills all of Tank Girl's friends and kills her boyfriend and kills her pet ox that she was riding around on and kidnaps the little girl that she was friends with and kidnaps Tank Girl. And this is where we get like our 3 or 4 scenes in a row of people threatening sexual violence against Tank Girl. So huge bummer in the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
First 10 minutes, all that happens?
It's almost instantly. We get a short scene of her coming across these people who got killed by rippers and like taking the water supplies that had been left behind while doing this narration that I swear was all added in post and was not intended to be there because it's very like, it kind of clashes with what's on screen. Like visually, Tank Girl is a silly movie, but trying to play it like the world they live in is kind of like sad and dangerous. But Lori Petty's narration is like, she's putting on this voice that makes her sound like she's 12 years old. And she's just like, that's me, I'm Tank Girl.
Probably wondering how I got here.
How did I make it through life without Surge?
Oh my gosh. Well, it can only go up from here. You just get all the sad stuff out of the way right at the beginning.
Dude, we don't get the sad stuff out of the way for the first like hour of the movie. Oh. It's so miserable. This is supposed to be a fun movie. I thought this was aimed at like kids when I turned it on, but instead it's like, no. We're gonna do kidnap, sexual violence threats, and then just like literal torture for multiple scenes in a row.
What? So like, our characters don't get to even have like a good time at all in the beginning. It's just straight into just bad times at Ridgemont High for the rest of the movie.
Bad times at Ridgemont High. That's not even what that's called. Yeah, pretty much. I think there's like one scene where she's like flirting with her boyfriend and talking to this kid that she knows, and they try to establish that Tank Girl herself is really clinging on to like old pop culture artifacts that she's collected in the form of like old junk. So she has like pin-up calendars and props and just things that she came across in the desert. And so she tries to make like pop culture references that don't even really make sense because she's not very old and the world has been messed up for a long time at this point. It's kind of like when the genie shows up in Aladdin and starts talking about like modern pop culture stuff. And it's like, excuse me?
Yeah, but that works in Aladdin.
It works in Aladdin. It kind of works in Tank Girl, but she seems to know more than makes sense. Like she makes a joke at one point about like, oh, I got to get home to watch Baywatch. And it's like, do you even really know what a TV is? Like, how long have things been this messed up? You're like 20 years old.
Wasn't this also a thing with like Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy? He was making like a lot of references to like 80s culture, even though he left Earth when he was like 9 years old. So
exactly. It's kind of on par with that, where like it's hearkening to something for the viewer's sake, even though the character maybe wouldn't remember a lot of this stuff. And that makes sense in the comic strip because I think Tank Girl has a bit of a meta-narrative quality in that, where she can like wink to camera a little more directly. She doesn't do that in the movie because she's busy suffering.
Oh, she doesn't do like the Zach Morris, like
she does not call a timeout and like Zach Morris. She just gets kidnapped and her small child friend is kidnapped. And then she interacts with the bad guy, played by Malcolm McDowell. So we got a real actor in the movie. Look out.
Look out. Wait, who's playing Tank Girl?
Oh, Tank Girl's Lori Petty, who you might remember as one of the leads in Point Break, the Keanu Reeves action movie. She was the female lead in that. Oh,
okay. Yeah. I like that you had to clarify what Point Break was. Like, I wouldn't know that.
The audience might not know. We don't know these things.
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah.
There's other people here. So yes, if you've seen Point Break, audience, then she is the female lead from that, opposite Keanu Reeves and the late Patrick Swayze.
Swayze, yeah.
The Swayze.
Didn't we talk a lot about Swayze recently? That was in one of our...
Oh, that was in
episodes.
Our ranking every movie ever made. Yeah, we went on and on about Roadhouse and how much we all love Patrick Swayze. So check that out if you have not already to hear more about the Swayze man. In the meantime, back to Lori Petty. So I don't even know how to properly summarize a lot of this because it happens kind of quickly. She gets abducted. She gets brought back to the Water and Power headquarters, which is like a fully functioning building that has all this stuff in it because they've hoarded all the resources left on Earth. Malcolm McDowell tries to hire her to work for him, because she showed that she's fairly capable. She like stole somebody's gun and killed a lot of his soldiers while they were attacking. So he's like, just come work for me. And she says no, because she's very rebellious And basically her whole character is that she just like refuses to be subjugated by all these evil men. Like even when some of them are like threatening to assault her, like she just always throws it back in their face by being like hypersexual towards them. And then when Malcolm McDowell threatens physical violence against her, she just like never lets them see it affect her. She's just always cracking jokes. That's like the core of the character in the movie, is like, you can't bring me down. You know, the man can't hold me back. But for the audience's sake, we just have to watch them try for like 20 minutes, and it's a huge bummer.
What an odd narrative pacing choice. I'm so curious as to like where the movie goes from there when you are starting at such a low point.
Strange. It's real like bottom of the second act, like low point storytelling. And it's like the very first thing that happens. Tank Girl never gets a chance to really even establish what she wants in the context of this story.
Right. That's what I was thinking. It's like, what journey is she on when she's immediately suffering? And like typically for a movie like this, you would want to show how capable she is in like certain situations, you know? So it's like you maybe have like that first act action sequence where she's like successful before things start to go poorly for her, because it's like we're supposed to be rooting for this character.
This is the problem with the movie, like among many, is that you have no reason to really care about her aside from the fact that we obviously don't like seeing anybody put through these like horrible situations, because we don't know her. We don't know anything about her, and her character never shows any vulnerability even like in private, so that the audience could see that she's like putting on a front to stick it to the evil characters. She's just always on. She's always like in character as this like unflappable, you know, rebellious hero character. So the whole time I'm just like, all right, Tank Girl seems fine with all of this torture stuff. I'm not. I'm sad.
Yeah, she's just like, don't have a cow, man. Like,
pretty much. It'd be like if you tried to like waterboard Bart Simpson. That's like what this movie feels like.
That's a good pull quote for the movie.
Yeah.
You tried to waterboard Bart Simpson.
So that's like the whole first act for some reason. Like Malcolm McDowell becomes fixated on this idea that he wants to like break her spirit because she shows so much resistance to it. And it goes so specific. Like he locks her in like a freezer for a while and then comes to get her and he's like, you going to work for me now? And then she like spits in his face, which is supposed to be like doubly insulting because there's so much water scarcity. It's like Dune. She's like wasting her moisture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then her second thing is so bizarre. He sticks her in a giant metal pipe that he explains as it goes further down, gets smaller and smaller, so you eventually get stuck. And he's just like, isn't that scary if you're claustrophobic? And then so he like puts her in there for like several days. And then when he takes her back out, he's like, just say it. Just say I won. Just say I broke you. And she never does. That's like the whole dynamic for her and for why he becomes so obsessed as the villain in the movie, is that she just won't give him the satisfaction no matter how badly he treats her.
Sounds like episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where Picard is being tortured.
Okay, let's dig into this. That sounds more fun.
No, hang on. The pipe thing does sound horrifying, though. I wouldn't want it. Just like, couldn't she just stay in the part of the pipe where it's bigger, though? Like,
well, they just like, it's too slick. They just like throw her down the pipe and she gets stuck.
Yeah, that sounds awful. I've always been scared of getting stuck in like one of those like water park slides, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a horrible thought, isn't it? See, this is the fun 1990s sci-fi movie Tank Girl. It's just like, man, that would be a horrible way to die. And it's like we're 20 minutes in. I haven't even started in on my popcorn, and I'm just like, oh.
Oh, I don't want this. I'm going to die someday.
That's another quote on the back of the box. Chicago Tribune says, I don't want this. I'm going to die someday. Yeah. So eventually, we meet another character called Jet. I think in the comic she's called Jet Girl, because again, we're still doing the Supergirl thing. In the movie, they just call her Jet. She is another prisoner of water and power who has like technical know-how, and so they have her in this hangar fixing their like helicopters and planes and stuff. And she, as the other woman in the movie, is also constantly being molested by a strange man. They have multiple scenes of this soldier guy who just keeps saying, like, you know, I'm giving you all these special privileges because you're smart. You know, maybe you got to make it worth my while or I'll take it all away. And I kid you not, despite the literal post-apocalypse happening, you know how Tank Girl gets this guy to leave her alone? She goes up to Jet and kisses Jet herself. And the guy's homophobia is so strong that it repels him and he leaves.
What?
Yeah. He's busy trying to molest this woman, and another woman comes up and kisses that woman, and he's too disgusted, and so he has to go home.
Well, this is not at all what I thought this movie
No!
was going to be.
No, it's not. It's such a bummer. The whole movie is a bummer until the second half, and then it becomes like a campy sci-fi movie.
Like, so she lives in a tank, right? Like,
eventually she steals a tank. She doesn't even know how to drive it at the beginning, but her and Jet eventually escape, and then Jet has a plane and Tank Girl has a tank.
Okay, see, like, why is that not where the movie starts? Why do we not start there? Like,
I don't know.
That's fun. Now we're in the territory of fun, where you can go to a movie and be entertained.
Much like how on our show we try to stay in that territory of fun rather than this ravine of misery.
Okay, so they get their cool tank and jet, and they're like, wow, how? So they call themselves that after they get those things, or that was like already their name, and they're like, oh, this is convenient. Like, now I have a jet.
I'm so glad I found a tank, because I've been calling myself Tank Girl this whole time, and all I had were shoes. No, they have different names. They call Tank Girl Rebecca, and Jet they just called Jet, so I think that one's more just a coincidence. But then I think at one point Tank Girl in the tank says like, I'm Tank Girl, and so she dons the title. It's a superhero origin story, you know. Once you get the tank, she gets bit by a radioactive tank.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Girl's her last name. Like, before she was Rebecca Girl, and now
Rebecca Girl. Okay.
And now she's Tank Girl.
And when they threw her down the torture pipe, she was like, "What am I, Pipe Girl?"
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how the movie feels. Like, they do this really upsetting torture scene, and then her attempt to rebuke it is always so like, "Gotcha," and it's like, you didn't get him. You can't, like, okay. The movie, I think, is trying to be feminist filmmaking, because it's been written about in a lot of like books and articles about its role in like feminist film of the 90s. And there are certain things it does that show that it was leaning that way. Because despite all of the like, you know, vibes of the whole thing, there's no actual explicit content shown on screen. Tank Girl as a character is not shot in like a suggestive or like objectifying manner. And I do think a lot of the story is supposed to be about her like taking the power back in this deeply problematic patriarchal society that she lives in the post-apocalypse. But the dynamic of it is too sinister for her just like being sassy to feel like taking the power back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. She
like,
can't just be like crying and like sobbing and be like, cowabunga. Like, it's just like. Also,
that's me. That was me watching the
movie. Like, was the movie written or directed by a woman too, or is it like, you know, are there any like women behind the scenes in the making of the film? Because I feel like that would be an important distinction as well.
Good question. The original Tank Girl comic series was written by two men. The film was directed by a woman, although she's one of the ones who said that like the story got taken out of her hands and there was a lot of edits made. And I do think that some of what was cut, which I'll get into, does suggest that some of the more like feminist elements of the visuals were what was removed. Like, there was things done. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, there's all this stuff about women being abused in the movie, but then they also try to do things to flip the script with Tank Girl, because she herself is like a very hypersexual character. She's just like constantly making sexual references to everybody else. And like, I think her house at the beginning, she was supposed to have like a room full of sex toys, like as a visual gag. And they like cut that out because they were like, that's like, that makes people uncomfortable. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Which people? Does that make you? Does that make you uncomfortable?
Exactly.
Male studio
like,
heads?
Male studio heads. Or like, there was a scene that I think I read was actually present in the theatrical release, but was cut in every subsequent release, including what I watched, where I'm jumping ahead a bit. Tank Girl ends up with a mutant kangaroo boyfriend who is half man, half kangaroo.
I was going to say, when does the mutant kangaroo boyfriend show up?
Kangaroo boyfriend show up? And there's a scene in the original cut of the movie that's like them in bed together after having had sex. And supposedly, the company that built all of these very impressive like kangaroo mask prosthetics had built like an oversized like kangaroo penis as like a joke that was supposed to be visible during that scene. And they made them cut that too.
But it was in the theatrical cut?
It was supposedly in the theatrical cut, but a lot of the things that the studio made the director cut out of the film were like phallic imagery done to sort of trivialize men. You know what I mean? And like the types of things where if they were still present would maybe aid in making the movie feel more like counterculturally feminist. And instead it's like, cut out all the parts that make men look silly and leave in all the parts about women getting hurt, and then you can release the movie. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at least starting to see the like overall artistic intention of the film now. Like,
yeah.
Before it was heavily altered.
Yeah. I will say that as far as I could tell, I think even if this movie had been released in the format that the original authors intended, it still would not have been very good because these story structure elements are like still poorly arranged. It's too much suffering for a character we don't know anything about, and then ultimately the comeuppance that the other characters get just isn't severe enough to feel like cathartic. Like you can tell a story about something really upsetting or serious and still make the audience feel like it was worth experiencing because it kind of meant something or like was trying to really elucidate something important that happens in the real world. And Tank Girl just does not earn the right to cover such messed up stuff in what is seen on screen.
Yeah. That's kind of what it sounds like. It's like that's the thing that's most baffling or confusing to me is that it was structured in such a way.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I mean, I guess again, like, if that is the point they're trying to drive home, if that's the thing they're trying to illustrate right away, is like what this woman is going through in this world, I still think there's another way to do that in a way that brings the audience in. You know, you have to lure the audience in to tell this story, I think.
I agree. I think even the parts of the audience that would naturally be sympathetic to everything the authors are talking about, like from the jump, that's just not really how a movie works. You're trying to take the audience on like an emotional roller coaster to land them at a point where they come to the conclusion you want them to have. It's like Inception. You have to like plant the seed, but let them have the thought. Whereas Tank Girl just like shoves the thought at you, and then like halfway through gets tired of doing that and is like, anyway, kangaroo guy. And it's like, well, hold on.
Sure. Yeah.
Why are we now backtracking? Because the reason that shows up is that I mentioned the Rippers are like the evil flesh-eating monsters, but when Tank Girl and Jet finally encounter them, you find out that they are these like army experiments gone wrong, and they're just these like hippie monster guys who have all these like, they look like furries, to be honest. They all just look like dog men and kangaroo men. But they're totally like nice, and well, they're not nice because they all still are kind of lecherous and creepy towards all the women, but they're more nice.
Yeah, nicer than the other people we've seen.
Yeah, if you take like sexual abuse as like a baseline for this world, which the movie asks you to do, they're still the nice ones in comparison.
Yeah. This is reminding me of like I'm watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and that's how I feel about so much of that show. I'm just like, I get it. There's a lot of good storytelling happening here, and I see all of the like, you know, violence and attitudes towards women that you're showing in this story to illustrate a point, but that doesn't make it less upsetting to see all the time, especially when you're like binging a show like that and it's like, oh my gosh, another one of these scenes. I don't need to see this again.
Yep. That is exactly how watching Tank Girl feels. It's so bizarre how heavily they double down on these elements. Like I said, there's a scene, Tank Girl's little kid friend gets kidnapped, and they track her down to what is shown to be like a strip club. And there's this whole scene where like they're trying to like send that girl away with a grown man. And Tank Girl and company stop this from happening. And I kid you not, the very next thing that happens is they find the woman who runs the club and is responsible for this heinous threat of violence against a child. And they're like, how are we going to pay her back? And you know what Tank Girl does? She makes her sing a song. And then Tank Girl starts singing the same song, and it literally turns into a song and dance number in the middle of the movie.
Wow. This movie is starting to sound weirdly like avant-garde in a way. Like, it's like Was this I mean, I guess, yeah, you said it was a theatrical release, but it sounds like this movie had like higher ambitions almost in terms of almost being like an art house film.
Kind of. I think it almost matches the spirit of the original source material in terms of being very like confrontational, but again, the edge is missing from the whole thing, even in what did get filmed and kept in the movie. Like, you don't. The other funny thing about that scene, not that any of it's especially funny, is that they rescue the little kid from immediate harm. They do a song and dance number. Nothing bad actually happens to the people responsible for that. And then in the middle of singing and dancing, they stick around for too long, and the water and power soldiers show up and they kidnap the girl again.
Oh.
And it's like, Tank Girl, that's your fault. You did that. You sat around literally dancing on a stage, and then the kid you saved is now missing and in danger again. And it's like, are we supposed to be sympathetic to that? Like, that was on you. That's on you.
That's on you. What's her name? What was her original name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca girl, that's on you.
Should call you loser girl. So anyway, story-wise, you don't need to know the rest, man. It's just they meet up with the Kangaroo Bros, who are all like super goofy. Ice-T is in the movie as one of these guys. Law and Order's Ice-T.
They're all kangaroos?
Half of them are dogs. One of them's a kangaroo. But they just say that it was like an army experiment gone wrong, and that the army like tried to kill them all afterwards, and then they just ran into this little like hippie hideout. And like one of them's like reciting poetry and playing the saxophone. Like, it feels like somebody's weird caricature of like hippie liberals, but they're supposed to just actually be the good guy characters. I'm like, oh,
right.
Why are they so lame?
Yeah, so interesting. This movie, like, to what I was saying earlier, where you take like what is kind of loose source material and adapt it. You know, it almost feels like a Rorschach test of sorts. Like, if you gave this material to different directors, like what they would give back. You know, like what type of film they would make, because there's a lot of interesting elements here to use in this story. Like, I like Mutant Kangaroo Boyfriend. That's just a funny sentence. Like,
just feels good to say.
Feels good to say. Like, you know, there's stuff they can use in different thematic ways. You know, it's like take these same core elements, take the theming, and just see what type of film comes out of that. This just seems like an unfortunate result, I guess.
Yeah. And I can place a lot of the blame on the studio for forcing the authors to compromise their vision. They're also, I haven't touched on this yet, a ton of stuff in the movie was never filmed. And so the entire thing is actually stitched together with hand animated, like comic style sequences that you would think make the movie a little more flashy and interesting. But they kind of stink, and they're all really short, and they don't properly bridge the gap between certain things that were never filmed. And so it just looks bad.
Oh, I'm sure. Because, I mean, if you did that intentionally, like if, you know, you planned on having animated sequences throughout the film to interject at certain, you know, to kind of drive home emotional beats or something, that would be interesting. But when it's more of like a Band-Aid to fix stuff that was supposed to be shot and is not there, that just sounds sloppy.
I mean, the end of the movie is an animated sequence because they didn't film the end of the movie. They beat Malcolm McDowell, and then the whole imagery that they keep using is like, we're going to break open this facility that's storing all the water and just kind of let it like run over the desert and like rehydrate the world. And it's like, first off, the drought was not Water and Power's fault. There's still not enough water. So these people are just going to burn through all those resources immediately, and then they're all going to die anyway. But the way it's depicted is a cartoon sequence of like a giant ocean wave and Tank Girl and her kangaroo boyfriend surfing on the wave, and then the movie just ends.
Oh, she literally surf monkeys.
She does surf monkey. She surf tanks.
Yeah. Also, that's how this episode is going to end. Spoilers. It's just going to be an animated sequence for like the last.
An animated sequence.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to art school. I'm gonna learn how to draw.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make 47,000 drawings to show 6 seconds of footage.
There's going to be a significant delay between the recording of this episode and when it's released.
It might be 2033 by the time you see it.
I did it. Still not that good, but I did it.
Still not that good. Probably not worth the effort. Tank Girl.
It's the final pull quotes on the box.
I mean, that might be it. That might be it for Tank Girl. There's more. There's more, but like, there's not, you know?
Tank Girl sounds sad. I don't want to talk about sad assault.
That's how I felt watching it. So, cowabunga, dudes. We're going to go to our intermission now. And when we get back, Frank's going to talk about what is hopefully, a much more fun film, 1990s, Dick Tracy.
Oh, I got nothing.
Oh, you got nothing. All right, back now from the other side of the break. Frank, we turn things over to you to hopefully save this episode by talking about 1990s Dick Tracy.
Save him from what? I don't. What's the problem? What could you be
Just
alluding
bring
to?
everybody's spirits up. I feel like I'm having a cow right now, and I would like to no longer have a cow.
Don't have a cow, man.
Like how Tank Girl had a cow, and then they shot it at the beginning.
Oh.
Anyway.
Let's talk about Dick.
No.
You told me. That's what you told me to do.
I did say to do that. Dick Tracy is also a comic book figure, more in line with those like pulp action guys that we talked about, like The Shadow earlier in the season. But once again, maybe not really a superhero. Am I right?
I mean, I think these guys are superheroes. This is big time The Shadow. This is like, what if The Shadow was okay? You know? Like...
What if The Shadow was also yellow and pretty cool?
Yeah, that is one of my notes, actually, about Dick Tracy. Unlike The Shadow, which might come up a lot, as it has all season for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just something we're always going to be talking about, it seems. It's like, unlike in The Shadow, where we weren't really sure what his superpowers were, or what he was doing, or what was going on, Dick Tracy's very simple. It's very straightforward. He's just a guy who dresses like the guy from Curious George,
yep,
and has a watch that he can talk into. That's
Wait,
it.
What? That's it?
That's it.
Who's on the other side of the watch?
That's the other thing. His random cop buddies also have that communicator watch. But I think that was what made him special back in the day. I think, like, in the 1940s or whatever, that was all it took.
Back when the world had water, that was all you needed.
Still had water. There was nothing else going wrong in the 1940s, I'm pretty sure.
No, nothing at all.
Yeah.
So he had okay, right away, I'm guessing this is like so that they could put communicators at the bottom of cereal boxes for kids, right?
Oh, that sounds awesome. I saw a news headline just the other day that Kellogg's is bringing back toys in cereal boxes.
Nice. That'll fix things.
That'll fix everything.
I was having a really bad day, but if I get to the bottom of some Frosted Flakes and they put a Dick Tracy communicator watch, I'm going to be like, wow, what's that?
No, yeah, it's just like a 2-liter bottle of Surge at the bottom of my Frosted Flakes.
If only. Bring back Surge. I run the website, by the way.
I know, I figured you were one of the 6 guys.
Just trying to get the word out.
Yeah, man, that's it. And like I said, he's not even the only one that has it. Like, his friends have him too. In the
That's
movie.
crazy. So his only differentiating factor is he has a big yellow coat.
And a gun, I guess. He does
And a
also
gun.
have a gun. But he's
Okay.
just like a cop. He's just a cop. Like, he's like cool Mr. Policeman. Like, he's a detective, I guess? He's a detective. That's why he doesn't dress like a regular cop. That's why he wears yellow.
He's a detective. Okay, yeah. People love cops. I feel
They
like
do.
that. We should remake this now. People love cops.
Love it. The TV show?
Yep. Okay, so Dick Tracy, 1990. The character's from the 40s. Did you look up much about like his origin or like was he mostly just a comic book character or did he do like a TV show at some point?
There was, like, previous Dick Tracy films. I think they were, like, shorts. They were, like, 30-minute films maybe, but they were released in the 1940s. RKO Pictures released, I think, like 6 Dick Tracy like movies, and I'm sure there have been other adaptations because this is a character name I've heard enough. I guess like it's a recognizable character. I think people would see him and kind of know who it is. But he's definitely, it's like they should do an Avengers movie, really, that's just like all these like similar characters, you know, where it's like Dick Tracy, the Shadow, Green Hornet, Darkwing Duck, as I mentioned.
Duck, just a Humphrey Bogart, just to balance things out.
Just he's kind of there. You're like, I'm not really sure you belong here, but just you can come too. And then Batman, honestly, is just the best version of this type of character. I think they just kind of perfected the formula with Batman, and that's why he's so popular. Because it's a fun environment, it's a fun setting. This, like the Shadow, is, you know, it's set, I believe, in the 40s. And to follow up on him just kind of being a discount Batman in a way, Dick Tracy has like a rogue gallery, and they're just a bunch of weirdos. Like they're all like mobster, like gangster guys, you know? And unlike, you know, like a Batman where it's like Clayface turns into Clay and we got Riddler, you know, it's like we got Lips over here because he's got weird lips. And this guy, that's literally his name. And this guy over here is Flat Top because his head is flat on top.
Oh my God. I'm just picturing this turning into like Dick Tracy, like berates people with like deformities and handicaps and them just being like, stop giving those people those names.
I was thinking that too. I'm like, but everyone calls them this like to their face. They like, people go up to Lips and they're like, hey, Lips. And it's like, you don't gotta, like, I'm sure, was he born with that name? Like, does he like that? Because
he like that, yeah. Like if he went up to, remember in Steel, his partner Sparky ended up having to use a wheelchair, and like Dick Tracy walks over and he's like, "You must be," and they're like,
no. Slow it down, DT. Slow
well, I just thought because that's what I see, and that's all I can ascribe to them is how they look.
Put the watch away, Dick Tracy.
I mean, it's the 1940s, so Dick Tracy just being an old bigot would be pretty funny, honestly.
It's pretty accurate. Yeah, maybe that's why all these guys don't like him. He's like, stop calling me that, but I don't know. And it's crazy prosthetics in this movie too. Like all of these guys are wearing super exaggerated like prosthetic makeup to highlight these features.
Oh, okay.
The whole film has a very strong aesthetic vibe that they committed to. And it's very clear watching the movie, but was very interesting after the fact too to kind of look at the production ideology that went into the film, because they were very committed. I should say, actually, the film stars Warren Beatty as Dick Tracy. He also directed the movie and produced it. So he had a huge part in this film. Like it was a film that was in sort of a development hell for a really long time and kind of bounced around different directors. Like it was going to be in the hands of different people. I think at one point Spielberg was going to make a Dick Tracy movie.
Oh, interesting.
I think they got pretty far along with John Landis was going to direct, but then he killed some people. So
he did. Let's not elaborate on that at all.
And they're like,
it's okay. He killed them by negligence, not on purpose.
It was just an accident that was his fault.
Don't have a cow about it. We've been over this.
Cow about it, okay.
It's Spielberg being attached. Gosh, that's funny. Spielberg did do Adventures of Tintin at one point, which also feels kind of a similar era of like comic strip characters, so that's not a huge surprise.
Well, I mean, even Indiana Jones kind of falls into that. Like, if you're looking at like, I've always heard him. I don't know the exact terminology, but it was like cereal, not like cereal like the Frosted Flakes with the surge in it, but like
no.
You know, like
like pulp cereal action short films. I don't know what.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like that's it was like they kind of like homaged it even in like Toy Story 2. People might be familiar with like the whole Woody's Roundup, where it was like, oh, Woody's going off the cliff at the end of this episode. Tune in next time to see what happens. It was just like, that's kind of what like Indiana Jones is homaging. So that was kind of very much in Spielberg's wheelhouse.
I like that because you were annoyed. I suggested you might not have heard of Point Break. Now you're telling the audience maybe you've heard of Toy Story 2.
It's only got like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, okay? If it had 100...
yeah, then I'd assume you've seen it. Now back to these much more popular film, Dick Tracy.
DT 1990. Yeah. So, again, the visual aesthetic of the film, super consistent. The filmmakers knew that going in. They had a lot of like kind of strict rules about making the movie. There's a lot of like miniatures and matte paintings and like bright primary colors. I believe there was like a sort of self-imposed rule that they only wanted to use like 7 colors in the movie because they were trying to like as directly as possible homage these old comic strips that had like limited resources.
Right, because for like a color print newspaper strip, it probably had similar limitations. Or sorry, this might not have been a newspaper comic, but I know what you're saying though, like a short, like nickel comic line thing that they would do at the time.
It could have been in the newspaper. I don't know. I wasn't alive in the 1940s, so I don't really know what was going on.
I feel like we need somebody older than to talk about the film. Who would know?
I'm unqualified.
Yeah.
I wasn't even alive in 1990 when the movie came out, but the cinematographer also mentioned he didn't even want to move the camera. Like every shot is static. There's like no camera movement throughout the film because
it just sounds like he was trying to get out of doing work. He was just like, boss, I think for the sake of the film, we don't even turn the cameras on. Because
we just shoot it wide and I'll be over there.
I'll be in my trailer, which I'm not going to leave because I don't think Dick Tracy would want me to.
I don't think that's what they would have done. There wasn't a cinematographer in the comics, so I mean, what do you want me to do?
Paycheck's still very real, but everything else I don't think we should do.
Yeah, like no funny business.
Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
No, that's exactly what it's weird that you knew that. That's how that conversation went.
He's like, this worked on Spielberg. He made the movie, just nobody saw it because we didn't turn the cameras on.
Didn't turn the cameras on. It was very avant-garde. It was extremely cinematic. You would have loved it if you could have seen it.
If you could have seen it. Okay, so it's very, very faithful, very, very like self-imposed restrictions in order to make it feel more authentic. Do you think that all of that effort was worthwhile or just kind of like unnecessary?
I mean, I think it was worthwhile. I think this film has some things going for it. It has, I said I was going to compare it to The Shadow. The Shadow was a confusing mess for the most part. This movie is very well structured. It's very easy to follow. It has a script that works in a very traditional 3-act structure, which like is oddly high praise, I guess, especially given the last movie we talked about.
Dude, this whole season, that's high praise. Having like a good 3-act structure.
Yeah.
Superhero movies are bad, actually, is my main conclusion.
Turns out, yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, this one, no, I was like, okay, no, this is great. This is like, I'm following who these characters are, their like motivations, the story is moving at a good pace, but it has this overall visual aesthetic that kind of puts it in its own category, its own world. I guess it would be similar to like is that Sin City? Like, that was that mostly black and white film that used like some, like, I think the only color that they would use would be red or something like that.
I tell you what, you're thinking of Schindler's List.
Oh, Schindler's List, that's right. That's such a fun movie.
Yeah. That's the real double feature. Tank Girl and that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yes. Sin City from the 2000s.
That's actually,
is-
they told Steven Spielberg to make Dick Tracy, and he made Schindler's List. And
No!
They were like that.
He was like 7 colors. How about 1?
How about 1? Turns out there was other stuff going on in the 40s.
What an absurd, wide-reaching implication. Spielberg was doing research for Dick Tracy that he was making without a camera and then accidentally stumbled into World War II and was like, wait a minute.
This doesn't look good, guys. Did
Things
you
in
know
the-
about this?
Things in the 40s were not all good, were they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's that watch that he's talking about selling at the end. That was a communicator watch. He's like, do you know I could have saved more?
Oh, it's such a specific pull for Schindler's List. He's talking about the watch at the end. Liam Neeson sitting there earning his Academy Award nomination, just going like, I could have sold this communicator for 50 more younglings to get them out of Germany.
More younglings. That's good. You brought it one step further. I thought we were done. But you're like, this keeps going. I was gonna say, because they parody that scene in Seinfeld specifically too.
Oh, yeah.
I won't get into it. We don't need to get into the Seinfeld reference, but we got a
series of asides, but it's very funny to me.
We'll bring it back to
Bring it back. Okay, so
Downtown Dick Tracy.
Downtown Dick Tracy. Okay, what is the film structured as a detective mystery? Is he trying to like find somebody?
I assume so, yeah. He's trying to bring down the mob, okay?
Okay.
And his main antagonist in this film is played by Al Pacino. And it is Al Pacino in, again, ridiculous prosthetics. And he is giving the most over-the-top, like, hammy performance. And at first, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, I thought your career took a downturn way later than this, Al. But as the movie goes on, I'm like, no, you know what? Actually, he's killing this. He's doing this exactly right. And turns out he was nominated for an Academy Award for this role.
For Dick Tracy?
For Dick Tracy, man, Downtown Dick. He was nominated.
That's not it. That's not what they call it.
It is, as it turns out.
Downtown Dickie T?
Yeah, they just keep changing it throughout the movie.
They keep changing it every time. So he was, I assume, Best Supporting Actor nomination for Al Pacino?
Supporting Actor, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and what's crazier, this movie, the cast is, I feel like I always get into this. I always get hung up on the cast, but it's interesting to me. It's fun. There's a lot of recognizable faces here. Because the rest of the cast of this movie is great too. Like, he's giving a great over-the-top performance. Madonna is in this film, and she actually gives a wonderful performance.
Got you tongue-tied. I mean, that's not even the only one. Isn't Madonna in A League of Their Own?
I think she is.
She's good. I think Madonna's a good actor.
Yeah, I think she was in Schindler's List too.
No.
Remember,
I found the Madonna dance number in the middle of Schindler's List to be very ill-placed.
It's a bit odd.
Should have gone at the beginning.
Should have gone at the beginning. It's like Tank Girl. But yeah, there was a lot of original music written for this movie, and she performs several songs. And I think one of the songs may have even won an Academy Award as well. So,
wow,
this was this film, high praise from the Academy for Downtown DT, but it was
Downtown Defensive Tackle Dick Tracy.
He's just listening to the plays in his watch. You got it, coach.
Omaha. Oh my! Just like stop doing that.
Just stop. You're ruining everything. But there was also like James Caan was in this movie for like 2 seconds. It was like a cameo because he's in like one scene. He's one of the gangsters. I don't remember if he had like a nickname or anything, but he's in the movie. He has like 2 lines and then he just explodes. And I was like, great. That's a wrap on James.
That's a wrap on Mr. Caan. Your Academy Award is in the mail.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, Dustin Hoffman is in this movie, also giving a like really stupid performance. Not stupid in a good way. Like Al Pacino's comes like all the way back around to being good. Dustin Hoffman's is kind of just stupid.
Can I say that despite having no reason to think so, I don't like Dustin Hoffman as an actor overall. This guy has won so many Academy Awards and has been in so many acclaimed roles, but he was also in Sphere, and I feel like that's the real man. I feel like Sphere Hoffman is the real Hoffman, and that's all I can see now when I hear his name.
Oh, I forgot about Sphere Hoffman, yeah. We also had two people who I would have been very excited to see, but I completely missed them in the movie. I didn't even know they were there. The late, great Catherine O'Hara was in this movie. Didn't see her. Don't know where she was, but she was apparently in the movie. I think she might have been in that same scene with James Caan. I think it might have been like a sort of intentional cameo.
Oh, and just like a group of cameos just for one scene.
Yeah, possibly. But I really could not tell you. That's my only guess as to where she would have appeared in the movie. Cole Meany, who...
Dude, I swear to God, I was going to say, when you started saying like people I thought was in the movie, I was like, whoa, is Chief O'Brien in this movie?
Chief O'Brien is in this movie.
I was gonna guess Chief O'Brien. If you're giving me one guess, I would have said because he's been in other movies as like a gangster guy. He was in some Nick Nolte movie as just like a rando gangster guy, and so that was my first thought. I can't believe that was right.
But I also missed him. I could not tell you where he was in this movie. I would have like, I don't know if him and Catherine O'Hara maybe were also in like heavy prosthetic, and you just wouldn't have even recognized them. I think in his case, it wouldn't have been like as a cameo. He was probably just a working actor who.
Because 1990. Like, I mean, that's probably not long before he got on Next Generation. That's 2 Star Trek references in one episode. We're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost at the minimum. We gotta
almost hit our quota of 7.
Yeah, duh.
That's crazy. No one's gonna believe me, but I swear it was in my head while you were saying people who showed up in the movie, and I was like, Cole Meany, Chief O'Brien, obviously. That's who I would have expected.
Yeah, DS9, come on. Yeah, last one too. Dick Van Dyke was in this movie, which that's just fun. You know, he's unfortunately very underutilized. He's like the district attorney, I think, and he's kind of getting, you know, he's Harvey Dent. We get Dick Van Harvey Dent.
Dick Van Two-Face.
Dick Van Two-Face Dent, and he. This is just another like behind the scenes thing. There's a scene. He's only really in a couple scenes, but he gets killed by like Al Pacino and the gang like halfway through. And I remember thinking this when I watched the scene, like they shoot it wide because again the DP was in his trailer, so
DP did not want to go there. He turned the camera on and they were like, "How's the exposure?" And he was like, "I'm getting a lot of exposure. I'm working on Dick Tracy." And then he left.
It's great. Crafty could be better, but you know we'll talk. The scene is shot wide, and they like shoot Dick Van Dyke, and he takes like a bump. He like dives backwards, basically, and you see the whole thing. It's clearly him. And I remember watching it, and I'm like, that looks like it really hurt, actually, because there's no like crash pad or anything behind him. You know, he just like jumps backwards. I think there's like a desk and like a bed or something. And I was like, ooh, that looked, I mean, good for you, Dick Van Dyke. That looked rough. And then I found out, like, reading afterwards that he broke his shoulder doing that scene. And I was like, wow, that is commitment.
Do you relate to that scene as someone who just recently dislocated their own shoulder?
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, can't relate at all. It's not like my arm is currently in a sling as we speak.
Just like me, for real.
It's just like me, yeah. I'm working hurt, but my boss here made me come in anyway.
I was like, listen, no days off. Except for me, I took like 2 weeks off to go on vacation. But other than that, no days off.
Said, get your broke arm ass in here and
Get down here and tell me everything I want to know about Darkwing Dick Tracy.
Darkwing Dick Tracy. Yeah, what else do you want to know? I mean,
Yeah, I'm sold. This movie sounds so much more fun. I hope that this has been the levity for the audience that it has been for me after talking about Tank Girl for 40 minutes. This one sounds fun and nice. Just a good time.
Yeah, I won't even get too much into the plot because it is pretty standard. There's a fun reveal, I will say. I mean, if you don't mind me just spoiling the whole
We can spoil the
plot
movie.
of the film.
It's fine. People, we've given them enough. You can always skip ahead if you don't want to hear spoilers.
Totally. Yeah. So there's an interesting, I guess, element. The film's really standard, back and forth. Dick Tracy's trying to catch the bad guy, Al Pacino. But there's like this kind of third character who's serving as like a secondary antagonist who's like sometimes helping Dick Tracy, sometimes helping Al Pacino. And it's like, this is actually kind of an interesting character because I don't know what the heck they're up to, you know? And the character is No Face. Because again, crazy prosthetics on everyone. This is just somebody who looks like Rorschach from Watchmen, just without the Rorschach part, you know?
Well, it's like Question, the original DC character.
Totally.
That was because Watchmen was going to have Question, and then they couldn't get him, and so they made Rorschach. Fun fact.
That is a really fun fact. Thank you.
I had a lot of fun.
It's like a roller coaster a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this character is running around, and it's revealed at the end of the movie that character is Madonna. It's the other character she was playing. She was playing like a singer in the movie who was kind of being like held captive almost by Al Pacino, and she was like this sort of femme fatale type character for Dick Tracy because he has a girlfriend in the movie who like kind of a running gag is that he's trying to like propose to her throughout the whole movie, but he like, you know, he's super brave in the face of danger, but he's not brave enough to like admit his feelings for her. And, you know, there's some tension between them because like Madonna kisses him at one point, she sees it and she tries to leave town and, you know. But yeah, it was like a fun reveal. And I was reading, there's a lot of interesting, like I enjoyed watching the movie and then there was a lot of interesting reading afterwards about kind of how the movie came together and what happened afterwards. And there was a fun bit where this movie, much like The Shadow, both came after the first live-action Batman, the first Tim Burton Batman movie. This movie, I think, is the third movie you've had me watch this season that Danny Elfman did the score for.
Really? Because he did...
Yes.
Which ones?
I think he did Supergirl, The Shadow, and this one.
Oh, well, there you go.
And in the case of maybe all of them, question mark, I think he got hired on all of those movies because of what he did for Batman.
Well, Supergirl came first, right? Supergirl was 84.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Well, he might have gotten Batman because of Supergirl. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, but he's very much in this like realm of like superhero movies. But I mean, in Shadow and this, it's like he just copy and pasted. Like he was in his trailer with the DP. Like he was just like, whatever.
Can you believe we only get one trailer?
Yeah, it's weird. It's really small in here. It's like a torture tube.
Now. Okay.
But,
Danny Elfman music. I mean, even copy pasted Elfman score has got to be great.
Yeah, no, it was great. It definitely set the tone that they were going for. But I got sidetracked from the earlier point I was trying to make. The movie, much like The Shadow, there was a heavy marketing push for it. You know, they wanted to make like a bunch of action figures and market it towards kids and stuff like that. And I guess an interesting thing was they released an action figure of No Face, but you could like take the mask off and it showed that it was Madonna. So it was like, and these toys came out before the movie. So it was like a big spoiler for the movie.
Oh.
And so those toys, because of that, were like pulled off shelves like almost right away. And now they've become like a really rare collector's item because they were only sold briefly and then pulled from the shelves. So it's like some of them are out there, and it's like rare if you can get like a No-Face Madonna action figure.
That is really specific. I like that.
Isn't that cool? That's just kind of a neat little thing.
Yeah.
A couple other things that I'll highlight here. This was the last known use of yellow screen as opposed to blue or green screen for visual effects in a movie, which was a process I was not familiar with.
Yellow screen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, so it's 1990. This was the last use of that as a way to superimpose images, to kind of layer two things on top of each other.
That's pretty ironic that you're trying to like key out stuff from a Dick Tracy movie with a yellow screen. It's like, to be honest, Chief, guy's wearing all yellow all the time.
Kind of a problem. Really didn't think this through. Wonder if this screen was blue? And then that guy invented it right there on the spot.
That's how he invented it, yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. This is also like notably like one of the last major studio blockbuster releases to feature no CGI effects. They had the blue screen to superimpose two images, but there was no visual effects outside of that.
Interesting.
And it was also the first studio film to use digital audio. So this is all very technical, but I just find it very interesting because it's like right at this precipice that we've talked about before in terms of like a change in studio production filmmaking.
I'm trying to even, I don't even know enough about sound to really have a good grasp of the difference between analog and digital audio recording. Like I could conceptualize that obviously what it would turn into, but I'm like, what is analog audio recording? What did that get recorded to? Tapes?
Just one of those like monophone things where you gotta like crank it, Man,
that's just a weird moment where I was like, I have no idea how any of that works.
I'm not super familiar with like audio technology myself, but I was just reading up on, I believe it might have been talking to Danny Elfman actually. And he was talking about how much he hated digital audio and he hated the shift to what they were doing and how it affected things like when you actually were watching the movie in the theater. So it's like I said, very technical, but to me, I found it just really intriguing how like it was like the last and also the first of some things. And it was right when that kind of change was happening to everything really going digital and implementing these new production elements.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem like the whole movie, we kept joking about them like imposing limitations, but if anything, that's the filmmakers like flexing their abilities to craft a very particular kind of image. Like you don't do that kind of thing unless you have kind of complete mastery over how all of it works, or else you just can't get by with those limitations. So I feel like it's an impressive film on a technical level in many ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, I think it totally succeeded in what it set out to do in having a very, very distinct visual style. It's like I said, it's like, what if The Shadow was okay?
What if The Shadow was not good? Okay.
Just okay. It's like, it's fine. It's entertaining. It's kind of like standard, very boilerplate storytelling in a way, but it has that aesthetic that is unique and familiar because of all the other things I've mentioned where people have probably seen it before, and most famously in things like Batman.
Yeah. It's like, especially given the first half of this episode tonight, I'm all down for boilerplate. Boilerplate is good.
Yeah. It's exactly. I was like, I wasn't, this will lead into my score for the movie, but I was like, I feel somewhat indifferent about this, but I'm not mad. This is just a movie. This is just a movie-going experience. I can eat my popcorn. It's okay.
You can eat your popcorn because you're not busy having a cow.
Last thing I'll say that I liked reading about was also to promote this movie. And this almost feels like how they would release like short films in conjunction with other things. This was sort of an old like theatrical release model. They made a new Roger Rabbit short, like animated short, to air or to be screened exclusively before Dick Tracy if you went to go see the movie in theaters.
Really?
I was like, that's great.
That doesn't play...
There's more Roger Rabbit out there?
Yeah. If you play the movie on streaming, it doesn't include that part?
No. I watched it on I think one of those services where you have to rent it, and that's not part of it at all. I think too, I remember reading there was like the home media releases of this movie were very sparse. I don't think it even came on the DVD. I think you can find the short online, but you're not going to find it paired with. I found a trailer. I went on YouTube and I found a trailer that was like, because I typed in the name of that Roger Rabbit short, and it was like a trailer for like, see Dick Tracy, and also exclusively see this Roger Rabbit like animated feature before.
Yeah, that's fun. I do think that is a lost art. Reminds me of the a lot of the like late 90s, early 2000s Disney Pixar films had little animated shorts at the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah, it's such a cool little touch.
Like, for instance, you might have heard of this movie called Toy Story 2.
They did make a second one. I don't know if people knew that, but there was 2 and maybe more.
And maybe 3 more. Okay, cool. I'm sold on Dick Tracy. I might go watch it just to cheer myself up.
Yeah. No, I think you would like it. I think you would enjoy it. Not be over the moon, but exactly. If you need something to cleanse your palate from Tank Girl, Dick Tracy would be perfect.
Just a bit of DT when you're on the DL.
What?
Okay, right. That was a fun conversation about Dick Tracy. Definitely a pick-me-up after the first half of the show, which was bumming me out. So we now move into final scores and wrap-up. And as a reminder for everybody, this is the last episode in our Forgotten Superhero season. So after we give scores for these individual movie picks, we can see who cumulatively had the better picks and is the winner of the whole season.
I mean, I'm optimistic. I feel like...
Dude, Tank Girl is just winner. Sailing in. 10 out of 10 Tank Girl. I guess I do have to start because I went first for the review. I don't know what to make of Tank Girl. Like, I could tell based on the original comic source material and what the director had said that they were trying to make something that actually had kind of a message to it. And I think that message was lost both because of the studio meddling that made them like soften the edges of only some of it and not the rest. But I also think that even if they'd made exactly what they wanted, it just would not have landed for a number of reasons. Like, the tone of the movie was lopsided from the beginning, and it was too like silly and cutesy at points to also have such like oddly disturbing imagery in it. Not like what was shown on screen was that disturbing, but just like conceptually upsetting material. And I don't know. I think it was ill-conceived is how I would describe the whole movie.
Yeah, oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, it sounded very dour.
And I just felt bad watching it. Like, it was not ever fun, and it almost felt worse that in the second half they tried to like pick up everything, because once those goofy furries show up, they're acting all silly.
Furries.
There's a line in there I forgot to mention that I thought was a joke, where they're talking to the Rippers, who are just these like goofy animal guys, and their lore is a little confusing because they imply that they were an experiment gone wrong, where they tried to fuse humans with like animal DNA, but then they also all at one point say they have been reincarnated. So I'm like, were you dead bodies that they tried to fuse with animal DNA? Like, how does that work? But they ask him like what they used to do before the experiments, and then they turn to Ice-T, who's like the grumpy one, and they're like, well, what did you used to be? And he said, I was a cop. I was like, is that a Law and Order joke? But it turns out the movie came out before he started on Law and Order. So I was like, oh, that was just like a fortuitous joke.
What fortuitous circumstance be this?
Yeah, check out our unrecorded 45-minute conversation this morning about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies for more on that. You see, we didn't record it because we were trying to be authentic to the original material, like Dick Tracy.
Like, exactly. Like Steven Spielberg likes to do it, you know?
Yeah, Spielberg was in, he blocked the whole thing, and then he was like, all right, turn those cameras off and go home.
That's how filmmaking's done.
That's how filmmaking's done. So Tank Girl, like, I don't have good things to say, but I'm worried about being too harsh because I think the movie was going for something, and I want to give it credit for that. Even so, Tank Girl's a 2 out of 10. It just totally Tank Girl bombed.
Two.
Why are you excited about this?
I don't know. I don't know why I did that. It was just such an unexpected 2.
It's only the second time in this podcast that we've given something that low of a score. The other one being Hoffman Sphere, which made me more frustrated than Tank Girl did because it was just like so tedious to watch. But Tank Girl, I think, just like should not be seen. I think we are worse off for it being here.
Yeah. It's a big 2.
It's a big 2. Over to
2.
That's almost a 1, which is first place. Over to Dick Tracy.
Oh, you're right. It's like golf scores. You just flip it backwards.
Did we not mention we're doing golf scores? Yeah.
Golf scores this season. That's been my strategy, actually. So I've been recommending bad movies.
All right. Yeah, over to you, Dick Tracy. I'm going to guess better than a 2.
Yeah, definitely better than a 2. Dick Tracy was just a very movie. It was a movie experience. You know what watching a movie's like? It was like that.
I don't, because I was watching Tank Girl, but I would like to.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, watch Dick Tracy and you'll kind of get a sense of what a movie is. Yeah. I gave it a 7. 7 for, yeah. I mean, like, I may have kind of even undersold it because I didn't get too much into the story of the movie, but I think I gave you maybe a good idea that it's a pretty standard narrative with a lot of stylistic flair and execution, and I think maybe unlike Tank Girl, it knew what it wanted to be, and it did that. So, to me, very standard, like, didn't love it, but definitely didn't hate it. Falls into that, very middling range, which is like kind of between a 6 and a 7, but I'm gonna give it a 7. It was a unique enough experience. Yeah.
I feel like that is still high praise. Like anything that is to make a movie even remotely good is very difficult. So it's not like, it's demeaning something to say like, yeah, it's a 6, it's a 7. It's like, no, that's pretty good. It takes a lot. Yeah.
I would watch Dick Tracy again. So I feel like that, that says a lot, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that about this show is that because of it, we're both watching stuff all the time that we would never sit down for otherwise, just because we didn't know about it or like it doesn't draw enough attention to like compel us to put it on. But at this point, we've talked about like 30 movies between the two of us in these long form reviews. And I'm like happy to have seen all of them, except for Sphere and Tank Girl.
Sphere was worse though, right? I mean,
Sphere was worse because it was a similar thing where the movie just like didn't come together and was not finished. Tank Girl made me more upset, but Sphere I think made me more angry.
Okay, that is a distinction: angry versus upset. Sphere versus Tank Girl.
That's gonna be our like champion of champions matchup down the road. It's just like which movie's worse.
Oh, that would be fun at some point if we did like a bracketed tournament with all these movies,
That would be fun.
Kind of.
We are always looking for like side content because I think you and I have fun. We've seen so many movies that because of the premise of this show, we don't talk about. It's like movies we've never seen before. So I like finding other ways to rope in other stuff.
Yeah. Check out our Remem series.
Check out Remem. We're trying to get Remem going as an acronym so we don't have to say ranking every movie ever made. Every time it comes up. So check out Remem 2. Available now. We ranked 11 more films randomly drawn out of a hat. Pretty funny.
I thought so.
Yeah. All right, Frank, that brings us to the end of this episode of Meet Your Double Feature, but it's also the end of the season. We have done 6 episodes now talking about forgotten superhero films. And are you ready to find out who won the season overall?
Oh, man. I got my acceptance speech ready.
Uh-huh.
I want to thank...
And your nominees are Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, Best Supporting Actor for playing goofy mobster guy whose name I don't remember in the movie. I want to thank him.
Yeah. You're giving out thanks while they're naming the nominees.
I'm like up on stage. It's like overlap. They're playing the music too to try and play me off while they're still naming the nominees.
They're like trying to play clips from the movies. And they're like, "This is a great scene. They got up there right now. I should really check it out."
I like that one. I haven't seen this movie, but that was pretty good. Who's this guy in the front row?
Yeah. What's he want? What's his deal? You don't recognize Al Pacino because he doesn't have the prosthetics on. I
It
get
doesn't
it.
have the makeup on him. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, not to disappoint you, but because I won today's episode for having picked the movie that got the higher score, I also held on to my lead for season 2. So after 6 episodes, 6 films each, movies you selected, Frank had a total score of 25, which means on average they were getting less than a 5 out of 10. Which is not our fault.
Listen,
all right.
we don't need your math in here, okay? This is a movie review show.
That's a good point. None of us were good at STEM. My movies got a combined total of 33. So it was actually really close until this episode. We had quite a stratification here because Dick Tracy was better than even I thought it would have turned out.
Look, leave Trish Stratus out of this too, okay?
Boy. Okay. So listen, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about the fact that I won by kind of a landslide this time, especially because we didn't set up prizes.
Yeah, that's true. One of my friends who's been listening to the show, he texted me recently, and he texted me and he was like, when are you going to watch the Prophecy movies? And I was like, oh, dang, somebody's holding me accountable to that season
Literally,
1 wager that we made.
Yeah, that, if you weren't listening then, at the end of season 1, we said that whoever lost had to watch the other 4 direct-to-video Prophecy films. And Frank, that is on you, but we haven't really done it yet because we're trying to find a way to make it into content that's not just me being like, and then what happened? And then what happened? So I think I've got ideas for that. Which it'll come out later. We haven't forgotten about it, but to be honest, there's not enough people holding us accountable, so I don't feel a big hurry. So
we will get there.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you were really waiting to hear about Prophecy 2 through 5.
It's important lore for the show, and we will come back to it. It's like One Piece. You just gotta wait like 20 years sometimes for it to come back around.
Yeah, it takes 20 years, and at the end, you're like, I guess we're so back. I don't know if we're back. I've forgotten where we were.
Don't know if anybody wanted this in the first place, but here we are.
Okay, well, that wraps us up for season 2. We have not yet announced the premise for season 3, and part of the reason is because we have not finalized the premise for season 3. So this is a good chance. Haven't even thought. Okay, I've thought about it, but
I just show up. I just do what he tells me to.
Frank shows up, turns the camera off, and goes back to his trailer. That's why we're an audio-only show. So I think what we'll do, we have some supplemental content coming out in our next pair of episodes. We have another ranking every movie ever made, another remem coming up soon, as well as a new bonus series that I want to kick off that Frank, you and I are going to record soon. I'll say right now it has something to do with a childhood favorite film of ours. One of the live
Tank
action...
Girl?
No! Not Tank Girl. We're going to be doing a special episode about the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies because we've seen them 600 times and I had an angle to talk about those from. So we're going to come out with that soon. And then probably in another month and a half or so, we'll start season 3. And what that means is that you, the audience, can help us decide what our premise is for the next season. So if you've been listening along, if you have an idea, a type of film you want us to talk about, let us know. Leave it in the comments. Text Frank directly. Whatever you need to do. We're going to put his phone number on screen now.
Yeah. Throw that up there. Make it part of the animated sequence that we'll have.
Oh, that's right. We have to have an animated sequence in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Or not in the movie, in the podcast. Yeah, so now we're going to do 5 minutes of our animated podcast outro. And if you don't happen to see it,
that's on you.
It's on you. I'm going to say
you got to believe, all right? It's like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan.
You got to clap.
You got to clap.
Do believe in fairies. Okay. Frank, any closing thoughts about our superhero season?
It didn't go the way I thought it would. It was really interesting that... I mean, I guess I mean that in a good way, too, because we watched movies, I think they all fit that criteria, which was kind of a big thing for at the beginning. Like, it's got to be a superhero movie of some kind, or at least a comic book movie. Dang girl. But I feel like we watched a really interesting variety, which is almost like, or I should say always the most important thing to me. I liked our first season a lot because we were talking about 90s movies, and that was such a big pool to pull from. And I feel like we made this season shorter because we had a narrower focus of what types of movies we were going to talk about, but it still got us a good spread of different things. So
we talked about
I liked that.
Some international films. We got to rope in some of our background and stuff like Power Rangers, talking about tokusatsu films. We talked about the like noir characters, a couple of like regular superheroes like Supergirl. I think it was fun.
Yeah, totally. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next season. Once
Looking
you tell me
forward
what
to
that
next
is,
season,
I'll be
once
here.
Figure out what it is gonna be.
As my arm heals, I'm sure I'll be
Yeah.
ready to play again.
Put me in, coach. Yeah. Frank's injured reserve right now while we figure out season 3. In the meantime,
defensive tackle Dick Tracy in my place.
Defensive tackle Dick Tracy. That's right. He's not big enough. He's not big enough to be a TT. He's gonna get bowled over.
What a loser.
What a loser. Step on his dumb watch. Okay. That'll do it for season 2 of Meet Your Double Feature. Before we go, of course, if you like tonight's episode, if you're a fan of the channel and the podcast, please drop us a like, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on any of your audio podcast platforms. We really appreciate that support. Helps us keep the show going. You can also find us on social media. Links are in the description no matter where you're listening. Instagram at Meet Your Double Feature, on Blue Sky at MYDFpod. You can follow us on Letterboxd. Just type in our name, you'll find us somewhere. And then Frank, you have one more update about your independent feature, right?
Oh, I do. I'd forgotten about that.
This man.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
I'm just in the trailer, hanging out with,
hanging
Danny Elfman.
Just hanging out in the Elfman trailer, thinking about nothing.
Yeah. Just thinking about nothing, just staring off into space. Yeah. So Nate and Moriah in Venice is currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video, and starting May 5th will also be available to watch for free with ads, with limited ad breaks on Tubi.
There you go.
Which is great. I love
Fantastic.
Tubi. We're big
Tubi.
Tubi fans
Big
here.
Tubi fans.
Tubi.
That is their thing. And I do think that looking at our schedule, this will be out after May 5th. So if you're hearing this episode, it is now available to stream on Tubi, free with ads, which means that if you're interested in the film, you can check it out. No barrier to entry. Give it a watch. Text Frank directly. We're going to put his phone number back on the screen. Let him know what you thought.
Please do. Yeah. Please send me your reviews. You don't even have to log into Tubi. That's the great thing.
That's true.
Just no barrier to entry. It's right there. And there's really only one movie on there worth watching. But, it's a good app.
You know what's funny? Guess where I watched Tank Girl?
Did you watch it on Tubi?
It was on Tubi.
All right. Let's go.
So skip over that. Do not watch Tank Girl. Please watch Nate and Moriah in Venice, independent feature film. Frank co-produced and was the cinematographer on. He turned the camera on.
I did remember to do that. There was no studio involvement in that one either, unless, you count us as, the studio, in which case we were very involved. So
studio meddled in your own production.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's exciting news. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back in 2 weeks. We're not taking any time off, but we'll be back with some supplemental content in 2 weeks. Join us again in a couple more weeks, and we'll be back with season 3.
I don't see the animation. I think I've lost my childlike innocence after hearing about Tank Girl.
Coming up next, it's a new episode of Ranking Every Movie Ever Made. Stay tuned for more, and thanks for listening to Meet Your Double Feature.